Hello, everyone. Thanks for your participation to this webinar. It's our third webinar this year, and it's going to be about the transition to a career in sales. So this webinar is organized by Biotechno. For more than 25 years now, Biotechno helps students, grad students, and postdoc to learn more about jobs and careers in biotech and biopharma industries. So we organize all year long roundtables that are focused on specific jobs. We have also monthly newsletter with interviews, job tips, calendar of events, and more. And we are also organizing 4 forums this year, covering the whole France. So today we are really pleased to welcome our 4 guests to learn more about a career in sales in the biopharma and biotech domain. So we are pleased to have with us Christina Barzan from the Coagen company. I hope that I'm not mistaken with the spelling. We will have Sercan Deniz, who is a scientific sales manager at Brain AG. Elise Loisel, who is a commercial engineer at VELA Diagnostics. And we will have Olivier Petitjean, who is a senior territory manager at VectorBuilder. So without further delay, Olivier, the floor is yours. So we'll start with you, so you can introduce yourself and the characteristic of your job. So I forgot to mention that whenever you have a question, please put it in the chat, so I can transmit it accordingly. And if you would like to intervene directly, please raise your hand and wait until the permission will be given to you. So Olivier, yeah, stage is yours.
Hi everyone, thank you first for inviting me. So I'm Olivier Petitjean. I'm working for VectorBuilder for now a bit more than 2 years. So I was a PhD student in virology in Strasbourg. I spent 3 years doing CRISPR, genome-wide screens, and RNA interference studies. And then after my PhD, I was wondering if I wanted to continue in science or no. And then, so during my PhD, I've done some lessons, so some teachings during 2 years, and I really enjoyed it. Like I was really enjoyed discussing with people, and was thinking, okay, maybe it can be cool to work with customers. And so I joined VectorBuilder for that. So I joined as a territory manager. So in fact, I was taking care of the whole territory of France, Belgium, and Switzerland for VectorBuilder. And maybe you want a bit more explanation of what I'm doing actually, right? So
yes,
we are okay. So we are a company of molecular biology services, and my role will be to be the point of contact between the customers and our technical experts. So we are working mostly like with product like cloning, plasmids, generation of viral particle, cell line. And so the purpose of my job is to find new customers, taking care of the customer. And so as soon as I found these leads, so I will just discuss with the customer their needs. So try to understand as best as possible the project, what they want to do. And then I need to translate it in the, let's say, the scientific language to discuss with my technical expert to design the whole project. And then I will negotiate with the customer if they are interested or not for this project. And so I'm taking care of a small team of 3 people for this territory. And that's all if you have any question.
So we don't have questions here, but so territory manager means that you're just focused on, let's say, a specific territory.
Area, exactly, yeah. Geographic area, exactly.
Okay, that's fine. And how was your transition from academia to sales?
So I have like I really at the beginning it's weird, you know, because you as a scientist you learn to be very like you want to know everything about a project, and here you can't. You can't just know everything the customer want to do. So you just have to like do your part uh, of the job, let's say. And so this is quite frustrating at the beginning, at least for me. You know, like for example, as soon as someone was discussing, like I don't know, like a CRISPR genome-wide library approach, I wanted to know everything about it because I was clearly what I've done during my PhD, or and so it's it's a bit frustrating for this, but it's also very cool because you see all the bright idea of people, you know. So the transition is quite okay. You just need to, of course, this is a kind of job when you need to, you have to love people, you know, and to enjoy discussing with people. And this is something that I think you should know it during your PhD. Of course, if you are extremely uncomfortable with discussing with people, so it's more complicated. So for the fun fact, I had just a so after 1 year in VectorBuilder, Merck came to me to for a small a position of let's say a technical expert, you know, in molecular biology approach. And when you are in your PhD, it's a kind of dream job, you know, like a technical expert position. I was so excited, so I went to Merck and I leave after 15 days because it was so boring for me. Like I was like, okay, it's not for me at all, you know. And the more I was understanding what I was going to do on the long term, I was not able to clearly see myself doing it. And so I went quickly start back and went back to sales.
You know, this is a very nice, let's say, story because
Yeah,
it's yeah, because sometimes you see a nice job title with a nice description, and once you're inside the, let's say, the domain, you realize that it's not exactly what was
yeah.
described. Okay.
What's really exciting in sales person when you are in sales, it's you are discussing a lot of projects, and you always need to understand like the big part of the project, the customer, to be able to discuss their need. For example, if I need to negotiate about the plasmid or to understand what the customer really want in terms of promoter, instead of gene of interest, resistance marker, I have to understand the whole project at least to understand in which cell line you will use it, or are you going to use it in vivo, in vitro, and so it's very exciting because you have still like an overview of project, and then you discuss with a lot of different projects all day long, you know. And for me, it was very exciting, and I was really missing it when I went to technical part
Okay.
of Merck.
Okay. So we have other questions on the chat. So it's Sharma who is asking, how do you approach for a target market? Do you also do target market analysis?
Yeah, of course. So this is also the task of our marketing department. But in fact, it will also depend on the domain you are working on. You know, for example, so we are providing molecular biology services. So every kind of researcher, you know, in biology is our target market. In fact, like for example, for VectorBuilder, like everyone, almost everyone is doing a bit of molecular biology at least. You know.
Okay. And in the same sense, so he or she is also asking, who is your point of contact for your company? You are the company you are approaching. Is it project manager, PMO? PMO is part the.
Like the people I'm referring to, I'm referring to the sales director.
Okay. Hope this help. So we have a question from Diwas Srivastava. Could you throw a little light on the translation process and what are the channels through which people like me who are doing postdoc can get a job like yours?
So in France, we have the platform. I don't know if it's only for France, but PhD Talent that I would recommend. I've been contacted by VectorBuilder on PhD Talent, and so VectorBuilder came to me. In fact, They find
Okay.
me on LinkedIn and PhD Talent, and they contact me on this
Yeah.
platform.
Okay. So PhD Talent is a good reference, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and also have your profile, LinkedIn profile, up to date. I will advise also.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's take two more questions and then we can move to Elise.
sure.
So what's the major difference between being technical support specialist and manager, such as
So
yourself?
the technical support was really more about only the technical question, you know. So this was clearly the main difference. So the technical support, I'm not an expert of this job. I didn't do it enough, to be honest, but it was mostly question about a product, you know, like when a customer say, hey, can I still use this powder using this formulation, or I don't know. While in VectorBuilder, it's mostly discussing project as a whole, you know, to understand the whole purpose of the project. Clearly, the difference it's in one case you want to understand the project to negotiate about it. In the other, you just want to help to respond to a question. Point.
Right. And as you said, you were not an expert after your PhD. And here we will join the question from Melanie, who said, with the PhD, you were able to find a job directly as a tutorial manager, or did it take some time because research and management is different? So
Yeah. So I'm a newborn manager since 2 months now. So I was
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So I was taking care of just of the territory, and then now I'm just taking care of the team after 2 years. Yeah, so I'm taking 2 years after 2 years.
I'll just add something quickly. It could be interesting that we come back to these questions also at the end with our own experience and companies, because it might be very different depending on the domains and depending on you know, the company size also.
I totally agree. Yeah. So
clearly.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's move to Elise. If you can give us a short introduction about your job. So you are a commercial engineer at VELA Diagnostics.
I actually in VELA, good evening, everyone. So actually in VELA, I'm currently a field application specialist, but I used to work for 5 years in a French molecular company as a sales representative. And that's why I was kindly invited to this webinar to talk about my experience as a sales representative in my previous company. So I have a PhD in molecular biology, phytopathology, so more crops and plants and interaction between plants and pathogens. And after my PhD, I have trouble to find a job in the academic and or in the R&D department for private companies. I already knew private companies because I did my PhD in partnership with a big industrial, maybe you know it, Bayer Crop Science in Lyon. So I knew already the company part and the company's expectations. And I was contacted by LinkedIn for a job as a sales representative for this small company. And I had nothing to lose. I didn't know anything about this job and this position before. I had the interview and I started there and worked there for 5 years. So I was in charge of the west part of France. And I had to sell products, mostly qPCR kits, for diagnosis in healthcare. So it opened me a new field, a new area, which is the health domain. So I worked with hospital laboratories and also private laboratories in France. Mainly the job was to promote the products to the customer. So to go there, to meet the people in the lab leaders, to explain what kind of product we offered, and also to listen to their needs and trying to find in which product they could be interested in. And because it was a small company, I was also in charge of the technical part. So I had to install devices, also to train technicians how to use the kit or the instruments. So it was kind of a, yeah, not double position, but I had the sales part and also the technical part in this job, which was really interesting to have both, in my opinion.
Very nice path. So we have this trend to, let's say, opt more for a big pharma, big company. And in your case, you left Bayer Crop Science, which is a big pharma, to a small company. So
exactly.
What was the reason? What were the reasons behind?
To be honest, at first I needed to find a job. So that's why I accepted to work for the small company, and I found a lot of advantages working for this kind of a small team, because it's like family communication. It's really easier. You are not overflowed with all the process that you can find in a really big industry, and you can work really closely with customers. You can be really reactive on the market and also on the support side for customer. And this is why I really liked.
Okay, and the transition from academia to sales. So the same question that was for Olivier, what was the transition?
Yeah. So to be honest, for the technical part, to explain the product and so on, I had really no problems because it was molecular biology that I knew very well, but I didn't know nothing about sales. And honestly, I learned on the field how to approach customer, how to also apply for tenders, because this is also something you need to do, to apply for tenders. But if you have good communication skills, and if you like people, it's really easy, because it's all based on communication, know to listen to people and their needs. And yeah, if you like contact, and also if you like to travel, I think it's really nice to have an experience in sales.
Okay, so let's see if we have some questions in the chat. Not yet. Okay. So please, if you have a question to Elise, don't hesitate to put it in the chat. So how was, okay, let's retake this question. With a PhD, was it more easier to have this job?
I think yes, because there are companies, in my opinion, and according to my experience, are looking for technical profiles. Because if they are selling products that are really specific and highly technical, they need somebody to understand how it works, to promote it very well. And it's easier to teach somebody how to sell, rather than to teach somebody about molecular biology, for example.
I totally agree, yes.
We are looking for really technical profile, master degrees, or even better PhD degrees, depending of what kind of product they are manufacturing and selling. Okay,
so we have a question from Gilcol. Where do you see your future career?
For me, it's a bit particular because, as I said before, I left this company for a field application specialist job because I felt more comfortable in this part of the job. So I see still myself as an FAS in the future, because I loved the contact with people and so on, but as I said, I was not a sailor. I worked at the bench in the lab, and I really missed this part. So that's why I switched it.
Okay, but you are still reassuring us that sales is something that we can learn. We can learn how to make sales.
I learned it. I was, I think, good at it, even if I switch it. But yeah, this is something you can completely learn. Also, I would say that it depends on the manager you have, if they are willing to teach you and to also form you.
So we have a question from Sharma. which is a little bit, let's say, funny. How much travel per month is mandatory for your position?
A lot.
A lot.
When you see job description, it's between, I would say, 60–80% of travels for sales. Maybe other salespeople can correct me if I'm wrong, but usually you have to travel a lot.
Okay, and the purpose is to visit, let's say, the clients, or to visit the company?
Visit the clients and also follow up. So
Okay.
discover new targets, new clients, new leads, and also to follow up.
Okay. We're getting also 2 questions from the US. As a foreigner whose level of French is not into the mark, would companies like Petitjean consider PhDs and postdoc trained in France, this kind of sales job or tech jobs? And the second question, recruitment for such a job only happens via portal or via networking? So it's more how to get a job at your company. Did you get the questions, Elise?
Is it all for me? Is it only for me, or is it for everyone?
It was for you, but
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So the first one is, let's say, for a foreigner who does not master French language, how easy is it to get a position in your company? And the second question is, how can we apply for a position in your company? Is it more via networking, or do you have posts on your portal?
I would say that for French level, French language level, I would say that it depends of the area the company you want to apply for is covering. Like, for example, if they have clients in all Europe, then I think it doesn't really matter if your level of French is high or not. You will mostly be sent to other customers that can speak with you in English, for example, or in Spanish, or whatever mother language you have. So I would say that it really depends the company and the area where the customer are.
Right, right. And for the tools or techniques to get a job at your company?
I'm not sure direct application would work nowadays. But so far, what I can see is that there is a huge turnover on this position, mostly because of the traveling, I guess, that can be at some point exhausting, or people want to go to new opportunities and so on. So there is a lot of job offer. And typically, LinkedIn is a really good network to get in touch with companies, recruiters, and also, how do you say in English? Even in French, I lost the word. Cabinet de recrutement, but I don't know how to say it.
Recruiting agencies.
Yeah, thank you.
That's nice. Okay. Okay, so what's upward mobility growth you see after FAS position?
I don't get it.
Me neither. Sharma, can you reformulate maybe your question?
Yeah, what do you mean by mobility?
Yeah.
Are you going to have like growing in this position, like having probably more
opportunity
no, within the same company and position is probably, how will you grow in this position? Are you going to have better opportunities?
Okay. I think it's maybe it's the same kind of growing that you can do as the salespeople. Like, first you're representative, then you have you manage accounts, then you manage regions, and so on. And as a field application specialist, I think to grow up in my company would be to be manager, to have a team, and to manage a team of FAS, which I'm not interested in at the moment because it's a huge job and I like to be in the field. But
Okay.
yeah, managing.
So thank you so much, Elise. And thank you so much for all people who asked these nice questions. So let's move to Sercan,
Yes.
who is a scientific sales manager.
Yes. So this is an interesting name that we put to this position. I'm a sales manager. But I'm talking mostly to scientists that are in the same field as I was. So I did a PhD in neuroscience in Strasbourg and then in Paris. And then after my PhD, I did 2 postdocs in the University of Northwestern in Chicago. And it's after these postdocs that I transitioned to industry. One of the reasons was because I just wanted to come back to Europe first. I was in the US for 6 years and I built a family, I had a kid. I wanted to come back to closer to my family, and it was a good opportunity for me to also try to change and find another way of working and doing research. Because, being a sales manager or sales representative is not necessarily only doing sales and going to people and selling something. It's also you need to have all the background that you have in science. You need to apply it and find the right wordings, the right arguments to make sure that the people in front of you are going to be convinced that they need this we're selling device in our company. I will tell a bit more, but it's depending also on the size of the company where you'll be working in. FreeBrain is a small company. You might be doing sales, you might be doing marketing, you might be doing application scientists like support, you might be doing many different things in a small company. And this is, I believe, starting with a small company in my case was a good way to learn what is industry. I was in the academia for so long, and starting with a job that allows you to put your hands in many different places, many different topics, it really shows you how a company works. So I'm in a very specific field in electrophysiology, neuroscience, and people doing biology are not necessarily very interested in this field because it's very technical and also not necessarily only you need to be also like to have some skills and patience and many different things that are usually people are really reluctant to go into this field. But our company, what we do is that we develop a product, a device that will help people doing these experiments much easier. But in any way, the clients, they always feel reassured that they are talking to people who understand what they need and understand how they would do the experiments. When we are in a project with someone trying to sell a product to them, it starts, let's say day 1, we will start even participating to their grant application. So we still continue doing what we're doing while being a PhD or a postdoc. We talk about science with them. We go into the papers. We need to figure out what kind of experiments precisely they would be able to do, because this is the first thing we'll tell them. Hey, look, you're doing this, you could do that, or you could enter into this field by with a very easy way that with what we are designing. So a sales project in my case can last years. It can start on day 1, and then they apply for a grant, and then the grant is dismissed, or they need to reapply. It could take 3, 4 years, 5 years even before they can buy the products. So it's a lot of following up. It's a lot of discussions, scientific discussions, because they will always want your feedback on the project by itself. What is the application that they would be able to do with this device because they are, most of the time, they are not experts in electrophysiology and they want to enter in this field. In other cases, they are experts, and then because they are experts, they're happy to know that we are talking the same language and that we are really not just selling because we need to sell the product. No, we really understand that the research they would do with that, and because our background doing the same kind of experiment that what they did, we know how difficult and technical it is. So we can find sometimes. I'm even starting a discussion with someone. I'm not even trying to sell. The first thing I'm trying to do is to, hey, look, you had this issue. Let's talk about it. Maybe I have in my experience, I had something that could help you to deal with it. And so this is really like the contact with the client is what everybody said before. You need to like chatting. You need to let me know if I'm talking too much. You need to like talking. You need to be involved and interested in what you're doing. I was a postdoc, and trust me, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now, because everything that I learned during my PhD and my postdoc, I'm applying it still every day, every single day in this job. Not only this, I did not really lose contact with science. Some people in sales have this feeling. You need to transition also personally from being a researcher to being a salesman. It can take time if you haven't, if you were not in this mindset in the beginning. It can take some time before you realize that, okay, look, I'm not a bench researcher anymore. But once you have done this transition, things become a bit easier. I also learned after I joined the company, there were some people when I was doing a postdoc, they were at the same time doing MBAs and other classes because they wanted to transition. I was not in this mindset, but this company had a position that was really tailored for me. And this is how I applied, through LinkedIn again. At the same time, I was applying to other jobs that were not really thrilling me into the industry. But when I was reading this job description, okay, this is me, let me apply. I got an answer the next morning. And the second day I had the interview. 3 interviews later, I was recruited for this job, and I started with them to learn how to be a salesman in research. This is also the big advantage of smaller companies. They will take the time to train you, and we continue doing the same. I've been working for 3 years in this company now, and I'm already building my own team. And I'm recruiting, by the way. If anyone who watching us would like to take a look at our website, there are plenty of jobs that are available: field application scientists, sales people, technical side also, like engineers. Small companies are meant to grow. If you start with a small company which is in a growth phase, which was the case with my company, then you will grow with the company. You will have more opportunities, and this is really what I really liked in this very dynamic environment.
Yeah, this is very nice. So I have a question regarding the title of your position, the scientific sales manager. Is it a specific title for your company, or is it a universal title?
Not many companies use this. It's it's probably just psychologically when you receive an email from sales. Most of the time, I'm not interested, or a call from someone. Hey, I'm a sales manager. No, I'm not interested. If we put our experience also in advance, showing that yes, we are also scientists and we can talk about other things than just I want to sell you a product, that might be a bit more interesting for them. But not all the companies use this title.
Yeah, so your job is kind of combination between consulting and selling, right?
It is, but mostly because of this very niche application of our technology. When the company will grow even bigger, I will do mostly only sales. I will not be a consultant anymore, because the company, the technology will be already known because of the background of the company, and we don't have like other companies, like a strong marketing team that will send emails or or bring us new leads that we will need to convince. It's really ourselves. We do the prospecting, we do the research, we're reading papers, we are sending emails, we are calling people. Bigger companies, they have a marketing team who is very strong and then can bring the people directly to us. And then this is where the salespeople then do the job and sells the products. But in our case, I would rather say that, yes, there is consultancy because it's needed by this application, but not all the sales positions need to go that deep inside the projects.
Okay, so when you talked about the time it takes to let's say to have the fund for the clients, you intended that your potential clients are academia. And here is a question from Sharma. Your target clients are largely in academia or small and medium-sized enterprise?
Not necessarily only academia. It's as weird as it can sound, even very big companies have budget limitations. So when we started with the company, we of course had most of our users were academic labs, universities. So it's all on the preclinical level all the time. Now we are also having more and more so CROs, so contract research organizations, also big pharma companies using our technologies. And this really we have really like a very large panel, but it's true also in big companies that they might have budget limitations and they need to fight for getting the money for being able to purchase technology that can be sometimes expensive.
Okay, so thanks for this. So we have a question from Amina, but I guess that you have already answered this by saying that you're combining research and sales. So her question is, it was not difficult for you to work in sales field and forgive research? What's your déclic? For me, I'm not able to say something to someone.
Well, if you're not able to sell, if you never sold anything and you don't think that it's something that you would be able to do, don't even try. So if it's not in your mindset to do a sales job, maybe not interested, and you would maybe rather be more interested in doing application scientist jobs, because in this case, it's after the sales that was performed, you will do the training with the people, you will do support, you will do troubleshooting, which is, by the way, also something that I did a lot at the beginning, because still doing, because the client you are the first person that the client knew in the company, and we spend so much time with them until the sale has concretized, that at the end, when they have a question, they will come to you all the time. And so you can be, and because you might be managing, very large areas, you might receive phone calls at the middle of the night because someone in Australia had a problem with your device. So the déclic for me, I didn't really need to have one. The déclic, what was a bit longer for me, it was to really give up on talking only about research. It's fun. We talk a lot about research with the people that we are talking with, but at some point, we need to go to the sales, and we need to make sure that this is going to be, because we can talk then for months about research and they try new things, and then at the end they don't purchase anything. So it's not for the best for the company.
I would like just to add something here. Also the déclic can be for me, like I was forcing myself to say, okay, I'm a scientist, and I wanted to love science as much because I spend so much energy and time doing science, And then the déclic is, oh, in fact, I really love doing sales, and that's all, The déclic is, in fact, you were not like that much in love with science. It can be the contrary. Huh?
Okay. How about you, Elise? What do you think? What was your déclic?
Honestly, I didn't think it would be so interesting to discuss with so many people and to have so many different conversation about projects and also to discuss with the labs what they are doing and so on. And honestly, I learned a lot during my 5 years as a sales, mostly in hospital, lab hospital, how it works, what do they need. Yeah, I really loved the contact with the customer and also the traveling.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So thank you, Sercan. We will stop here for the questions. And I don't know if Christina Barzan, our fourth guest, is with us today. I'm not sure. I don't see her in the list. Okay. Okay, so we can continue with the questions, and it's going to be for all three of you. So we'll get the kind of a discussion about each question. So what was the most challenging part of your transition?
For me, it was to deal with all the administrative part of the sales job, like quotes. Also because I didn't know anything about it before I started, so I had to learn everything, but that was really challenging, like doing quotes and how to apply to tenders, and also to do Congress, not as a PhD presenting my poster, but on the industry part of it. So to present, to be understand, to present the products and so on, to approach the customer. But yeah, mostly for me was all the paperwork, I would say, that is associated with the sales position.
Okay, so we should expect too much paperwork, right? If we apply for a position in sales.
I think you have to take this into account, because there is this kind of work that needs to be done. Also, you have software that allows you to follow up on customers, knowing what you did, what did they purchase, and so on. So yeah, this is also a part that you need to know about, I think.
Okay, thanks, Elise. Olivier or Sercan?
I was thinking about it, and on my side, I didn't have a real challenge, so I don't have really idea here.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, difficult to answer this question. Challenging part of the transition by itself, because I've been trained by the sales director when I started with the company. So, well, we were not a lot of people. We were 2 in the team, so it was him and me at the beginning. So we spent some time, being trained on the different tools, as Elise was mentioning, also tools for managing the leads and the prospects and the clients. Training was there, so I didn't feel any challenge here.
Okay, thanks. So we have a question from Sev Noor. What % of the field application scientists includes sales strategy? Can you tell us the difference of field application scientists and sales positions?
I can start. So the thing is that the field application scientist really arrives after the sales. He might be a support to sell more or sell different products after they started doing or using the products or the devices. The support team is not, most of the time, at least in my company, not going to participate in the sales project. There are some times where they will need. So for instance, if they are already supporting an existing client and the existing client has a need that we can provide, then they will refer to me as a sales and say, look, you would need to talk with our client because he has different needs, and you will need to make sure that he can find what he looks with you. But then also, the field application scientist can be useful for the sales project when we do demos. We go to the labs as a sales and we install the device and we try to do an experiment with the people there. So in our case, it's a real experiment. We really most of the time we go there, they prepare the tissues and we do the recordings together. So we train them also. This is a first training for them also with the device to know how it works. And sometimes when no time or no availability, the field application scientists can do the demos also for us. I think it's also the case in other companies where the field application scientist does the demos.
And in your company, are you selling the products? Are you manufacturing this product, or are you selling the protocols?
No, we are from everything. We have the technical side, the engineering side, who is designing and developing the device by itself. Then we have our field application scientist, which is linked to the research and development group, where we will also define the protocols on how to use the different tissues on our devices. And in this case, the field application scientist is very involved in this kind of projects. But then there is also the software team who will be working, and we are all always talking together, because us as sales, we have also the feedback from the users, but we have also our own experience as electrophysiologists, and we can give our input to the software on what is needed in doing the analysis, for instance. So again, small companies have this opportunity to do this kind of things. Much bigger companies will have dedicated teams that will do exclusively what they are meant to do, and this is a different mindset again.
Right. Do you want to add something, Elise or Olivier?
I completely agree with Sercan about the difference between sales and FAS and how they are involved in the sales process. Completely agree.
Okay, thanks.
Same.
Okay. So we have a question from Olivier. It's more about do you define, let's say, priorities at the beginning of the year and you evaluate yourself at the end of the year? So in other words, do you have objectives that must be reached every month or every year? And what happens if for some reason you didn't sell enough products? And what is enough? In this case, would be.
So for me, yeah, we have objective. Of course, we have goals, and so I think it depends on the company. I have no idea for the other, because VectorBuilder was in fact my only company. So for us, it's a quarter goal, for example. So every 3 months we will have a review, and if we are not able to sell enough, for example, we will just start to understand why, and why are the room for improvement. In fact.
Okay, so you have a quarter evaluation.
Yeah, and you try to understand why, what was the issue, why do we have missed a big project that might, and why, and just try to understand.
Okay, thanks. So how many senior territory managers are in your team, Olivier? Are you the only one in your team, in your company?
No, we are 5 or 6.
Okay. So
In Europe,
in Europe.
for Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So about the objectives, in our case, we do also have goals and objectives. We have yearly goals, but which are divided still by quarter. So we have quarter goals, but we can always compensate a bad quarter by a second quarter. But at the end, it's going to be at the end of the year that we have the evaluation of the goals that are reached. You need to keep in mind that in most of the cases, your salary will also vary depending on the goal that you have to reach, because most of the times you get bonuses depending on your sales, and the bonuses are calculated depending on the goals that you need to reach, the targets. And this is why it is also important for the salespeople to to finish and close their goals, because otherwise they do not reach the end salary that they are supposed to earn.
So are you involved in defining those objectives, or is it something that is
that will depend. That will depend. In our case, how it works is that, of course, depending on what you have in your pipeline. So let's say you have you have prospected for a whole year, and at the end of the year, you know that you have some projects that are quite advanced, some that will need more work to finish. So you will evaluate and you will give an idea of what is going to be your potential target by the end of the next year. And then the company will also evaluate depending on what they need, because in our case, the income goes back into research and development. So we inject the money that we make through the sales into research and development. So in this case, the company defines that for their project, for improving the technology or for improving the software, we need this amount of money. And for this reason, the goals will be calculated and ponderated depending on what they need.
Okay, thanks. I like the injection of the money in the research and developments. It seems that your company is, let's say, very, it's aware of this research and development dimension that should be all the time.
Well, you know, to be completely honest, our company is not as all the companies. We are not really like, the idea is to help research, like all the companies, of course, but we are not going to, for instance, define prices which are too high compared to what we produce, because we know also the struggle of research. But it's also because we are really using this money to do additional research. It's not just, we don't put that money in our pockets. So there is a salary, of course, which is important also in a sales job. You don't do sales only because you love doing sales. You do sales also because it can provide you a better salary than being a postdoc, for instance, which was the case for me. So this is also another motivation, of course, that you need to take into consideration.
Right. Yeah. So if you are looking for a job, look for a company like Free Brain that has this ethical dimension, right? This is your message. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. No, I really like being here, and they feel it. My colleagues, they can feel it, and they give back what I'm giving to them. So that's really important.
Okay. Thank you, Elise. How about the objectives?
Yeah, we add also objective, like company objective and also personal objective, like an amount of sales we have to reach at the end of the year, and it's also connected to your salary. So depends of how much money you made. If you reach your objectives or not, then you will have a bonus, which is more or less depends of how percentage of your objective you manage to reach. And it's usually defined with the company, with your manager. And this was something we could always discuss with my manager, like adjust if, of course, a project will take more time than expected. This was something we can use to, adjust the targets.
Okay, so the bonus, is it specific to positions related to sales for the three companies, right?
It's very common to sales to have a bonus depending on the sales. Not in all the companies. What they do is that they can earn only from the sales, the sales percentage. Some other companies, they provide also a base salary to which they will add also bonuses depending on the percentage.
Okay, thanks. So
there is something which is important also, is that I don't know how it is for the others, but for instance, in our case, we are several managers, and we would compensate, like if someone has a bad year, the other one can take over and compensate a bad year for another one. So at the end of the year, the company is looking for a group sales target. But I know also it's not the case in all the companies, because I'm in touch with many different companies now, that's in some other companies, there is a competition between the salespeople. If you don't like competition, you might not be a good fit for this kind of job. because in this case, they will then, you know, have a better bonuses if you perform better than the others. For instance, some people have this kind of competition where they also overlap on the same territories, which is, in these cases, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be happy doing this job then, because I don't want to perform any action that could have a negative impact on the others. So if you are in a sales team that has like a team spirit, I think it's always better. But if you are super competitive and you want to crush the others, it's also fine. But in this case, you need to find the kind of company that will reward you depending on your performances like this.
Okay. So individualist versus team worker.
Both coexist in this field, and sometimes you, of course, you never choose your colleagues, but unless you are involved in the recruitment. But in this case, it's a different story.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. And is it an information that we can get easily? I mean, let's see, the company policy regarding this rewarding for the sales
during the interview.
During
the interview, you're free to ask any question you want, and if you get to the interview, is the right time to talk and openly ask those questions. There is no taboo. It's you need to talk. You can ask anything. If it's too much information, they will tell you, I cannot provide this information.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question from Sharma. During the hiring process, how did you get the confidence of hiring manager to convince that you can do the sales parts? As you have this, let's say, academic background, how can you convince?
Chatting. Just discussing with, like, it's quite, at least for me, I don't know for the other, but it's a very tricky question, because you don't like, this is not like you have in film, hey, sell me this pen. At least in for me, you know, it was just discussing, like, and just, I think it's a lot of feeling, because as I know, the whole part of your job will be discussing with people. And so on my side, and so the interview I had was clearly about just discussing and to see if I was going, because I was not a salesperson at all. Like, they had to learn me how to do sales. So I think they just first, when you try to find like a junior salesperson, as we all of us coming from a PhD is, the real question, it's more, I think, about feeling and how you are confident talking to people, you know.
Right.
Would be my point of view.
Case, Olivier, the hiring parts, were they PhDs as well?
Yeah.
When you did your okay, so this made the difference.
Yeah, and we were discussing science also, you know, like yeah, chatting.
Okay. So what was the case for Elise or Sercan?
They didn't ask me to, as Olivier said, sell a pen or whatever. It was also just discussing, because they were looking for personal skills. If I was comfortable with other people and so on. They also asked me about my PhD, what I did, what I knew about molecular biology, of course. And they also presented to me their products, the product they were selling, to explain me what it was about and so on. And it was the two ways, honestly. I presented myself and they presented themselves. And yeah, it was mainly about how comfortable I was to discuss and so on, not really how I would sell anything.
Okay, and the products in your case, are they manufactured by your company or?
Both. We had some providers we sell products for, and also a part of product that we manufactured.
Okay. Thank you. Sercan?
So, well, you know, yes, it's all a matter of feeling, that's for sure. But you need to sell yourself. You need to be there and already giving the arguments that you feel that are important for them to hear. So, of course, you know, if you are not comfortable speaking, if you are if there are some aspects of your personality that you think that would not fit for this job, but you want this job anyway, you're going to sell yourself. So you need to put the right aspects on the table. But also, and I can also tell this because I'm also now participating to the recruitment of people in the company. And when I had this interview, I, of course, looked a lot on their website, on their applications, what they can do, what could be done, and I came with like a spreadsheet, with information. Look, so this is the strategy that I would have, to try to read. I gave the examples of the people that I knew from my PhD, from my postdocs. I said, look, I know this kind of labs that could be interested in your technology, and this is the strategy that I would bring. So I came with kind of a sales strategy during the interview. Not all the time this is requested. It was not requested in my case, but I think this is also what made a difference, because they also had the feeling that I was involved already in what would be my future position. So and I can tell also from the recruiting that I'm performing at the moment for my personal team, it's really a matter of feeling. Am I going to be able to work with this applicant for the next 3, 4, 5 years? Because who knows? So this is very, very important. That but again, we are all of us scientific sales managers or scientific sales. If anyone who did studies about how to sell, if they were listening to us, they would say, oh, this is bullshit, sorry, but that will never work. We have a different background. We are not meant to be sales at the beginning. We were researchers, so the approach is completely different when we have the interviews with people.
Okay, thank you so much. So I guess that we looked at all the questions we had in the chats. Does anyone want to intervene? Okay, you're welcome, Sharma. So before, let's say, stopping, can we have an advice for junior researchers who wants to apply for a position in sales?
Networking is the key word. I never knew so many people, until I became a sales in this company. And if tomorrow I would be looking for another job, I know much more people, and I'm in touch with so many people that I would have like a very easy transition to another job compared to transitioning from academia to sales. Then going to any other industry, so many people when you do these things, that it's super important. LinkedIn, whatever. I hated social media in the past. I opened my first LinkedIn account for this job, actually, and this is how I found it. But then I need to use it as a tool. But when you know people, you hear about things and you can apply much easier.
Okay, thank you so much, Sercan. Thank you. Elise or Olivier?
For me, it would be that it's not because you didn't do any business school that you can't do it. Obviously,
absolutely,
because we are now 3 of us, and we are from academic, and we made it. So there is no reason you can't if you want to do it. And also, it is a really interesting area. For me, it opened me a complete new field in healthcare that I didn't know before. So it can be really an enriched experience. So if you are willing to do it, go for it, because it can be really, really interesting. Also for your future career, you never know.
Right. Thank you, Elise. Thank you for this intervention.
I don't have a wise advice like Sercan and Elise. I will just say, yeah, they are completely right, both of them. Like the network is also extremely important, and just I know that there is a little bit of an image, like for salespeople, like you are selling carpet, or something like that, and you have the image of the salesperson extremely pushy, and this is not what happens in science most of the time. And most of my colleagues, like Sercan, like Elise, we are mostly all of us most of us come from a science background, and when you discuss with people, you are not trying to be pushy, you know. You try to understand the project and to see if is it interesting or not. So try to not think about being sales as being extremely pushy, like try to sell everything you can. It's really a job when you discuss a project and you enjoy discussing with people and you discuss science. Try to just to have this image.
Right.
I have maybe another piece of advice. Switching to industry is very dynamic. You can take 1 year or two to take this decision. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay in academia or should I go to industry? But if you make this jump after this whole evaluation, internal evaluation, go to any position in industry will open you doors to other positions in industry. You can do research in so many different aspects in industry, either on the bench or as a field application scientist or as a sales manager. Then there are plenty of doors. You can leave a job. It's possible. You don't need to stay there for years if you don't like it. As you know, 15 days for Olivier in the previous job. You enter and then you see, and okay, it's not for me. I quit, and in the meantime I found something else. It's quite normal.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for this rich discussion. So please join me to thank again Olivier, Elise, Sercan for their time and advices. And thank you to all the participants of this webinar, and hope to see you in the next one. Yeah, and thank you.
And look at our career pages.
Okay. We have 3 brain, VELA, Diagnostics, and VectorBuilder. Let's see. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Goodbye.
And good evening
Bon
to
appétit.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.